Sunday night, Spain had just won the World Cup. Their players were on the stage at MetLife Stadium ready for one photo that belongs to them and them alone. Arms open, trophy raised, a moment 32 teams and a whole tournament had been fighting for all over North America. And standing right in the middle of it, refusing to leave, was the President of the United States. FIFA's own president had to physically try to usher him off the stage. By multiple accounts, Spain's players ended up nudging him aside themselves. And when it was over, FIFA's official count and Spain's own team account both posted their victory photos, with the President of the United States cropped clean out of the frame. The White House had to post its own version just to put him back in. Friends, that photograph is a perfect picture of something much bigger than a soccer trophy. Tonight, a man who can't read a room that isn't about him, a war he swears is almost over that just got 40 times more expensive than that, and a private deliberation to quit it for the exact wrong reason. Y'all, it's that time. Let's go.
Standing for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Built upon the shoulders of the Constitution, rule of law, and the animating principle that we are all created equal. I need to hear a hallelujah, though I'm not considered a believer by some. I still believe in the warmth of heaven come. I need the rapture I feel when my feet touch the green, green grass of home. Then I know I have reached the valley of kingdom come. And when I reach...
Well, y'all, man, can we write it any crazier than this? I'm not sure. But welcome to the Hillbilly Think Tank with Spencer Keck. I'm the educated hillbilly, and no, that is not an oxymoron. Don't call me a moron. There have been educated, erudite, and emancipated hillbillies ever since my kith and kin came through the Cumberland Gap into Kentucky with Daniel Boone and other long hunters on their quest to find life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness right here. I'm Spencer Keck. I'm a retired Navy doc, currently a public school teacher, combat veteran, and candidate for magistrate on the Hardin County Fiscal Court, District 3. Now, y'all, let's start with the number that gives tonight's episode its name. Tuesday, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth sat before the Senate Appropriations Committee, protesters interrupting his opening remarks more than once, and gave Congress a new price tag for the Iran war. $37.5 billion spent so far. That's up from every earlier estimate the Pentagon has given. This came just days after the Pentagon itself announced 3 more American service members killed, bringing the death toll to at least 17. Now, I just saw it's been bumped up to 18 plus, with more than 100 wounded since early July alone, y'all. Man. And here is the sentence from that hearing I need you to sit with tonight. Chew on it. The committee's top Democrat, Senator Patty Murray, said this, and I'm quoting the Associated Press exactly. The president has told us over 40 times now that a deal is near and the war will be over soon. 40 times. But now, she said, he's asking for $70 billion more. And for us to just trust him, it'll all work out fine. Read that back. 40 separate promises that this is almost finished. And the actual measurable trend line is the opposite of finished. It's $37 billion deep and asking for double that with a body count still climbing. And that's the important number. That is not a man who's slightly optimistic about a hard situation. That's a man whose relationship with the truth of his own war has come completely unmoored from what the Pentagon's own numbers say. And it wasn't only Democrats in that room raising alarms. The Republican chair herself, Senator Susan Collins, opened the hearing by calling it deeply troubling that the Pentagon has been blocking promotions for qualified officers, especially women and people of color. Her words, warning it would deprive us of their talent, dedication, and patriotism. When the chairwoman from the president's own party is criticizing the defense secretary in her opening remarks, that is not partisan noise, y'all. That's the institution itself flashing a red warning light. Now, next segment, the private plan versus the public vow. Now, here's where it gets almost impossible to reconcile. And this is reported by The Atlantic, so I'll be careful to attribute it exactly as reported. The Atlantic's sources say that behind closed doors, the president has been weighing a total end to this war, not because the mission is accomplished, but for the sake of bailing Republicans out before the midterm elections as gas prices climb and public approval of his handling of Iran keeps on sinking. And here's the part that should genuinely alarm you regardless of party. The Atlantic reports that in the 10 days since the U.S. resumed airstrikes, neither the president nor any senior official has held a single public briefing on the campaign. Congress, oh man, the people's representatives, the ones who are supposed to authorize and vote on, of course, in order to authorize it. Well, what has Congress done? They're supposed to oversee the war. Congress has yet to receive classified briefings on the latest phase of the war. That's in the Atlantic's words. The reporting also says the military expected a quick win and never fully prepared for a long fight, and that ships pulled in to help were diverted straight out of other war zones rather than trained up for this one, with nearly half of all those ships now stuck on extended deployments, stretching an already worn out force even thinner. Now, as I've told you before, I've been a sailor, and I've also been a sailor with Marines on ships multiple times. When you extend deployments over and over and over again, keep people at sea that long, Well, so that's the private picture. Quietly weighing an exit for political survival, with Congress kept almost entirely in the dark. Now, here's the public picture from the very same week. Sitting in the Oval Office next to the leader of Lebanon, reporters asked the president about the war, and he said, and this is a direct quote, "We're not finished at all. We're not leaving right now." And in that same conversation, he vowed to bomb something called Pickaxe Mountain on the mere suspicion that it houses part of Iran's nuclear program. One story reported by named sources says quietly considered ending it. The man himself on camera the same week says the opposite and threatens to widen it over a suspicion. Somebody in that building is not living in the same reality as the Pentagon's own budget office. And I genuinely cannot tell you whether it's the sources or the president, except that his own Secretary of Defense's numbers keep landing on the side of the story that says this war is not ending, it's compounding. Next segment, the tariffs he actually pulled the trigger on. And here's where tonight connects straight back to an episode I did with you recently, because I told you then I hoped it was bluster, and I said I suspected it wasn't. And that was over the weekend. I was up at a family reunion, Great Hillbilly reunion up there in Wisconsin, right on the Wisconsin-Michigan border, way up there north, near the border of Canada and the US. And I was breathing in that smoke. I couldn't believe. You'll remember the president threatened new tariffs on Canada, blaming them for wildfire smoke. All that wildfire smoke that was coming in, blaming it on them, saying that it drifted into our skies, a claim that the actual science never supported. Science never supported the fact that they're to blame. Matter of fact, even Minnesota's burning at the same time, creating smoke right here in the USA. Yeah. Well, Monday, he followed through with that threat. It's not a threat anymore. 3 separate proclamations, 50% tariffs on a long list of Canadian goods: wine, cement, hockey sticks, dairy, furniture, paper, clothing, swimming pools, plywood, even fishing rods and wigs. To do it, he reached for a law called Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930, a statute so old and so unused that this is, by Reuters' count, the first time in nearly a century anybody has invoked it. Y'all, we can't make this up. Now, come on, y'all. We know that these tariffs have tracked our Kentucky bourbon economy. Jim Beam, Claremont, not making any bourbon this year. They have too much in the rick houses. Man, that's Kentucky jobs, Kentucky wages that are so important to Kentucky families. These are families counting on their family members being employed, having all the benefits that go with that employment. And this president, he just doesn't care. He loves them some tariffs. We already know that our soy crops, man, they didn't get sold to Canada or China because of these tariffs. And here we go. Just don't understand. Our ally, Canada. Come on, y'all. These are the people that have been with us in World War I, World War II. Go on down the line. They were even in Vietnam with us. They were in Afghanistan with us. Man. Allies. Folks along the longest unguarded, for the most part, border in the world, the Canadian-US border. Very sparse guarding up there because, what defenses do we need for people that are so polite, kind, and loved our products, loved our Disneyland, loved our Disney World, loved to come down here and spend winters and spend their hard-earned money. And have they been coming down since these tariffs started under this administration, number 47? No, they have not. Especially not when this president said we would take Canada over either by force or by their choice. Make them our 51st state. He said that from the beginning to folks that have fought and died with us, shed blood right alongside us in defense of worldwide democracy. And here's what we say. All right. Now, officially, the White House says this has nothing to do, these tariffs have nothing to do with wildfires, even though he said that the other day, that that's what he was going to do. A senior administration official told reporters directly, quote, "These are not the so-called wildfire tariffs." Really? Even though he said 2 days ago, 3 days ago, he was going to do this. The stated reason, actually 4 days ago, anyway, the stated reason is discriminatory treatment, claiming Canada retaliated against American cars, alcohol, and dairy. Fine. I'll give you that official explanation exactly as they gave it. But look at the timing with your own eyes. These tariffs landed days after the wildfire threat. And just after the president reportedly told Canada's prime minister face to face at the World Cup to get those fires under control. I'm not going to tell you I can read minds. I'm going to tell you that when the stated reason and the calendar disagree that badly, a reasonable person is allowed to raise an eyebrow. And y'all, again, let's just bring it right back. And they're trying to say that it's because Canada boycotted our alcohol. Who was it before this put a 50% tariff on Canadian alcohol? They loved our bourbon. They drank it way more than they drink their Canadian whiskey. Because I've had some of both. Frankly, ours is better, even though Crown Royal is good. All right, and here's the part that should worry you regardless of what you think caused it. These new tariffs reach into the goods that were supposed to be protected under the very North American trade agreement Trump himself signed in his very first term. Nearly $20 billion of Canadian imports, all in, get hit. Canada sells about 3/4 of everything it exports straight to us. So Canada's own government now has every rational incentive to go build deeper trade relationships with Europe and with China instead of us. And they will do that permanently, whether or not this particular fight ever gets resolved. You don't threaten to make someone your 51st state either by force or by their choice, and then slap these ungodly tariffs on them and and say, "Oh, you're supposed to be our friends and remain friends with us, even though we're robbing you every day we get a chance." You can't do that. You don't get to squeeze your closest, friendliest trading partner over and be surprised when they start looking elsewhere for good customers. That's not petty of them. That's just what any of us would do. My God. So here's the honest question hanging over all of it, and Wall Street's already got a nickname for it. Will he taco? That's not a dinner order. It's shorthand traders started using last year for Trump always chickens out, because the pattern is so well established. Announce something severe, watch markets or allies flinch, then quietly walk it back or delay it weeks later. He's done it with tariffs on Europe. He's done it with tariffs on China. He's even threatened to do it with Greenland. Well, maybe this time is different. But if you're a Kentucky bourbon or a Kentucky farmer already squeezed by earlier rounds of this exact fight, you don't get to wait around and see. You eat the uncertainty either way, whether he backs down in 3 weeks or not. Next segment. The trophy he couldn't leave. Now let's go back to that photograph, because it's not just an awkward moment. It's the same instinct in miniature that you just heard playing out with the whole war. You'll remember from an earlier episode, a few weeks before the final, the president personally intervened to get American striker Fullerin Bulligan's red card suspension overturned a call that a U.S. soccer vice president publicly called a moral stain on the game. The U.S. lost its very next match anyway to Belgium, and much of the world quietly celebrated that loss as a kind of vindication. That was chapter one. Chapter two was Sunday. Spain beat Argentina 1-0 for their very first title since 2010. The trophy ceremony is one of the most sacred, tightly choreographed moments in sports. It belongs, by every tradition of the game, to the player who just won it. And the president would not leave the stage. He lingered through the trophy lift, reportedly angling for a prime spot in the team photo, while FIFA's own president tried to guide him off, and players themselves ultimately nudged him aside so they could have their picture with their trophy that they worked hard for. When the dust settled, FIFA's account and Spain's team account each posted their celebration photos and videos. Trump nowhere in the frame, cropped out cleanly by two separate organizations that had every reason to want to stay on his good side. The White House had to publish its own set of photos just to put him back in the picture. The actual champions had already decided did not include him. Y'all, I'll tell you what. What does it say about a man who can't recognize when a room, a moment, or a war simply is not about him? And why that instinct, man, is charming at a trophy ceremony and catastrophic at a war briefing. What does that tell us? Does that tell us that he has cared about us deeply, or that he is absolutely oblivious to what matters the most to us and what we need? All right. See, I got coffee cats on here. I hope we can rebuild our relationship with Canada when this is all over. You know, they're some of the most kindest, most polite people I've ever met in my life. I've been up there to Newfoundland, was the first time I got to go. That was when I was stationed in the Navy, and I went to the Arctic Circle. And gosh, I just absolutely could not get enough of Newfoundland with their kindness, their politeness, their, hey, let's party and have a good time attitude, just all of it. Yeah, Newfoundland is someplace I recommend. If you've never been, you owe it to yourself because it's absolutely wonderful. The people are unforgettable. All right, so let's just look at this real quick. CBS. Remember, this is basically the new Fox News, but even they reported it straight.
Meanwhile, President Trump says the smoke from wildfires in Canada trickling into the U.S. airspace is unacceptable. He says he's going to hold Canada responsible for not properly maintaining their forests and brush terrain, adding the U.S. is being unnecessarily invaded by filthy, polluted, and unhealthy air, and that the quality is dangerous. Now, keep in mind the president will be in New York and New Jersey for the weekend. Later today, he'll attend a FIFA reception at the Trump Tower. Then on Sunday, he'll be at the big game between Argentina and Spain, and that's being held at MetLife Stadium.
FIFA reception at Trump Tower. So yeah, they wanted to stay in his great graces, but that activity, after Spain won is just, it's incredible.
CBS News reporter Torian Small is live outside Trump Tower, and he joins us right now. Torian, good to see you. Somewhere else that's not Capitol Hill. That's a good shot behind you there. So President Trump addressed clouding last night. A haze of smoke traveling south in the U.S. from raging wildfires in Canada. What else is he saying about that?
Yeah, I mean, as you pointed out in that True Social post, he says that he has a call coming up with the Prime Minister of Canada to discuss this, even threatening to target tariffs against China or against Canada in order to, in his words, punish them for not doing enough to really get a tamp down on these wildfires. He's categorized this as an ongoing problem that the U.S. faces from its neighbors from the north. But ultimately, though, it's to be seen whether or not something substantive will come out of that conversation. But right now, though, it's clear.
Well, something substantive came out of this. This was from the 17th when he threatened to put tariffs on them for not properly maintaining their forests. This man, I don't know if he's ever in his life taken a hike in real woods and real wilderness. Oh, Jesus H. I mean, I think if he ever had, maybe it would change his whole personality. Maybe you'd be, less oblivious to everything. But if, anyone who has ever walked in the wilderness knows that the millions and millions of acres of wilderness that exist cannot be raked like he thinks it can in order to maintain forests. He's told California the same thing, if you remember. Our own state blamed them for forest fires that are now coming more and more frequent with our climate continually changing for the worse worldwide. So, again, here we go. We are just sitting on the edge of insanity. Actually, we're knee deep, and we've gone beyond knee deep. We're now nose deep in insanity. If you can't see it, then I don't know what to say. Copycat says Trump in real wilderness. I can't imagine he has. Me either. Absolutely not. There would be no literally golden toilets there like he has in his house. So how on earth would he abide with having to take a crap in the woods? All right, y'all. All right. we'll do the line. Fair is fair. Let me get the first hearing because I always do, and some of tonight's materials deserves it. Every president wants a strong, well-funded military, and Hegseth's underlying argument that shortfalls hurt readiness. It's not crazy on its face. Nations do need to resupply after a real fight. Presidents attending marquee sporting events isn't new or scandalous by itself, and enjoying the spotlight is a fairly universal politician's trait, not a crime. And if the reporting is right that he's privately weighing an actual end to this war, that's not nothing. An off-ramp, however, it's motivated, beats no off-ramp at all. But here's my answer. Wanting a strong military doesn't require pretending a war is nearly over for 40 separate times while the bill triples. Enjoying a spotlight doesn't require refusing to leave somebody else's. And weighing an exit privately while Congress gets zero briefings and the public gets a defiant, "We're not leaving," isn't a mixed bag. It's a pattern of telling different rooms whatever keeps the moment about him, rather than telling the whole country the same true thing at the same time. A soldier deserves a commander who's honest about the war that he's fighting. A nation deserves the exact same thing. So, y'all, it's now time. Let's bring it home. Home to Hardin County. So bring it home because the standard underneath all of this is a small, simple one, and it's exactly the standard a county magistrate lives or dies by. Say the real number the first time, not the 40th. Don't make a public meeting about yourself when it's supposed to be about the people in the room. And when the facts on the ground say a thing costs more and is taking longer than you promised, say so plainly instead of promising it's almost done again. That's not a lesson about Washington. That's Tuesday night fiscal court business right here in Hardin County. The budget you were told, the timeline you were given, whether the person in front of you is leveling with you or performing for you. And we should not have anything but transparency in our local county government. We shouldn't have any non-transparent actions. This is as close to direct democracy as you can get. Now, I've spent 24 years in a chain of command where the truth of the casualty report was never negotiable, no matter how it made anybody look. That was my time as a Navy hospital corpsman. I did not lie about our casualty reports, and I would not have stood for it if someone else tried to. Now, y'all, I'm running for magistrate because that standard shouldn't stop being sacred just because that my uniform came off. You know, you tell people the real cost, the real number, the real timeline, the first time, every time. That's the whole job. And y'all, it is really, really that simple. And any dancing around, trying to pretend that it's not to be, that is just smoke and mirrors. That should not be part of a truly exuberantly thriving democracy. Y'all, I'm Spencer Keck, the educated hillbilly, and this has been the Hillbilly Think Tank. Come to a fiscal court meeting. Bring your hardest question. Whether I earn your vote or not, I'll answer it. I'll see you there. And when I say I'll answer it with you, with your input. Keep thinking deeply. And remember, in Kentucky, united we stand, divided we fall. That is not just words on a flag. It is the glue that holds us together. Because if we love our neighbors as ourselves and recognize that, yes, we are our brother's keeper and our sister's keeper, then we cannot be divided and we will not fall. Remember, everyone deployed overseas, because Lord have mercy, more are falling. And bless your corazón, that's Spanish for heart. Y'all, this has been paid for by Spencer Keck. Learn more at SpencerKeckMagistrate.com. That's SpencerKeckMagistrate.com. Y'all, I'm hoping you are having a great week. Please like and subscribe and share my info with more people. I need the votes. We need to make serious change for the better. Copycats, I appreciate you too. Thank you.
Standing for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, built upon the shoulders of the Constitution, rule of law and the animating principle that we are all created equal. I need to hear a hallelujah. Though I'm not considered a believer by some, I still believe in the warmth of heaven come. I need the rapture I feel when my feet touch the green, green grass of home. Then I know I have reached the valley of kingdom come. And when I reach that valley, I need to see you there. Because we don't need a kingdom, we only need freedom. be no king or woman. We will stand undivided because we will raise the fallen. Now I need to hear a hallelujah as we tear down the wall. The divide between heaven and earth is tears turn to mirth as we walk through the valley of death. And I draw my last breath. I know rapture I feel when I touch the green, green grass of home. Then I know I have reached the hollow where my ancestors roam. I have seen the dream of MLK come true. I have seen Martin's dream of justice alive and world when at Thanksgiving my family sits down to break bread together with folks of many different races, ethnicities, religions. My family sees Martin's dream and we only judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have seen the dream of MLK come true. I have trusted my life in the hands of many a black brother, a brown brother, and an immigrant brother in the military, and they have saved my life. Countless times I saw Martin's dream alive, and well, many times my destiny was tied with my brother's destiny. As we served our American dream in combat overseas, we did not care what color of skin our warrior brothers had, what adult sexual partner our warrior brothers had, or what religion they practiced or did not practice. Martin said, "It must not lead us to distrust all white people, for many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny." I have tasted the bittersweet taste of freedom as I held wounded warriors of America, both in battle and when they returned home for treatment. I knew then and I know now, freedom is not cheap, but I heard it ring loud and clear. Even after the battle smoke cleared, this made true to me what Martin said. When we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every city and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, great God Almighty, we are free at last. Oh, brothers and sisters, I have seen the dream. The dream made us so great. Why would we shut out this dream from our midst now? I was told by another leader that America is the land of opportunity. But we see these opportunities dying with our dreams. Why, America? Why would we let the dream die when we were near the top of the mountain and had the whole world wanting to be us? Brothers and sisters, it is so much better to be loved and respected. That is real power. Now, we want to be the feared bully of our own people and other nations. In the past, I heard fools say they hate us because they ain't us. Now I say the rest of the world doesn't want to be us anymore. The rest of the world thinks we have lost our mind and we are the dangerous neighbors that will rob them in their sleep. This is not Martin's dream. Oh, brothers and sisters, I have seen the dream. The dream made us so great. I have seen the dream of MLK come true. I've seen Martin's dream of justice alive and well. When at the dawn's early light, I heard freedom ring. Come all ye children, sing. We must hear freedom ring. This is my American dream. Free at last, free at last. Great God Almighty, we are free at last.
Beans shipped across country in a refrigerated truck. That's early. They take all hand cooked and model bush beans. In the 1950s and 60s, convenience became king and TV did it. Soaking overnight, got laid But here's what they didn't tell you. Old-fashioned means it actually works. Your great-grandfather didn't grow scallop runners because they were tender. He grew them because when the bank foreclosed on farms across the